Once again.
Hello, it's Jimmy here at O'Reilly's, and we've just come to look at this Ford Kuga here. It's got the engine light on, and he said he's had it in a garage and they've put it down as a DPF problem, but they can't sort it out, so we're here to look at it, see if we can get it sorted. We're just doing some diagnostic scans, gonna get it read and see what faults we're coming up with. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer than usual. So you got particulate filter, sensor A, circuit, intermittent, erratic. So we'll have a look at what's going on with that. I'm going to go into some live data. Takes a little bit of time. So I need to find the differential pressure sensor there. Take that. Any other DPF related data that we can find here. Exhaust gas temperature. I'll put that one there as well, the manifold pressure sensor. Fuel rail. And we've got a particulate filter differential pressure sensor. Another one there, so we're going to put all of these to the top. So you can see these readings here. We've got 0 on that, 103 and 0.45 volts. You can already see that was a little bit erratic there. It went to 27, back to 0, and it's on 0 on idle. So as we rev it up, we're getting the pressure build, but then it disappears again. So got maybe a possible leak or a faulty sensor. Over here we've got the pressure sensor, and underneath there you've got 2 pipes that connect to it and an electrical connector there. So we're going to disconnect this bolt to get it out and have a look at it. So we've taken off that 8mm bolt. Now we've got these little clips here with 7mm bolts on them. We're going to open these to get these hoses loose. Got another one here. I don't think these clips are original. Get those open. Slide those clips a little bit down out the way, down the holes there. And basically I'm just looking to see if we can see any problems with the hoses or the sensor, any blockages or splits or breakages. Okay, so here we've got a Medivac MV8500 and we're going to put this on and read the pressures. So we've just got a hose line here connected to the pressures, sensor hoses, and give them a pump up. We're not getting any pressure, and we're going to change it over to the next one. Just push it down tight, make sure we're getting a good seal. And again, it's staying in the 0, it's not moving. So just along the DPF here, after the DPF you got your hose, and then this one is before. You got the hoses along here, and I'm just clamping them closed. And I'm going to use my pressure again to see if I can isolate where or if it's got a leak. So I've clamped off these hoses. Now I'm going to put some pressure back through with the Mighty Vac and see if we're still losing pressure, then we'll know that the pressure leak is from this end forward. So again, we've just connected that up. Now let's have a look. Straight away there you can see the pressure going up. Now we'll just push it back onto the second one. Yep, and we're getting pressure on that again. And the pressure is holding. So we know we've not got a leak from the pipes anywhere from here down to the DPF. We did notice on the DPF hoses down there that there are no clips holding them on, so it might be losing pressure just from that. Another thing is the DPF may have been gutted out. But yeah, we're going to go down and have a look. So here I've connected the multivac to the sensor, and I can raise the pressure and then read the readings on here. So at the minute you got minus 345 volts, so we'll just raise the pressure up slightly on this and raise it again. You can see the voltage is rising and the pressure is rising, so the sensor is working. You can see that there, 34, 2.4 volts, 2.7. Now we'll release the pressure from here, and the pressure releases. So it's a bit of a confusing one on this. Sensor's working. I know if a DPF is not really blocked, you don't get a lot of pressure anyway, but we've got erratic readings when this is connected to the car. So it looks like either the DPF inside may be damaged, or the sensor doesn't look to be faulty because I'm plugging it in and it seems to be working, or it could have a software issue somewhere inside the car. But yeah, I think he's going to be wasting his money on a DPF clean on this one, so gonna have a word with him and see what he wants to do. May need a software update or something like that. Okay, so I've had a chat with the customer, and what he wants to do is he wants to have it cleaned anyway. So we're going to put some cleaning fluid through it. He wants to have it cleaned anyway. He said it's never been cleaned, it's done 95,000 miles, so he wants to have it cleaned anyway. But what we're going to do, I think is the most important part of this, is after this is done, we're going to do a teaching process on the sensor and relearn the values, reset adaptations, and I think that's going to be the most important part on this job. So just get this squeezy bottle tightened up, and we're just connecting our hose to the pressure sensor. This one is before the DPF, so the bigger hose is before the DPF, and then you got the second hose on the right, a little smaller one, that's after the DPF. So by filling this one up before the DPF, it's going to go downwards into the DPF, and it's also a good way to, once we're filling it with fluid, we're going to look underneath. It's a good way to see if you've got any leaks anywhere, because if you've got leaks, we'll see the fluid leak out. That's done. We'll have a look underneath to see if we're getting any leaks. I'm just going to check along all of the pipes and going all the way back to the top. Pretty happy that there's no leaks anywhere. And just by doing that process of filling the hose with fluid, we've found a lot of leaks in the past that way. Another thing we're pointing out here is this sensor. The last mechanic that he brought it to, who said he doesn't deal with the DPFs, he has changed the sensor for a new one. So you can see that's an original part there. They've got the FOMO coil on it. So that has already been changed by the other mechanic. And what he says it doesn't look like he's done, he hasn't done the adaptations for that new sensor. He hasn't done like a teaching process. So I'm going to do that on here. So first I've cleared the codes. We're going to go into our DPF, hot functions. So then we can do all of this, reset the particulate filter learned values, reset the differential pressure sensor learned values, all of that. So I don't think that's been done on the new sensor. So all of this problem could be just caused by that. So we're going to reset those. Yes, a new one has been installed. And the ignition is switched on. That's complete. Switch the ignition off. That's successful. So now what we'll do is take it for a test drive. Customers told me that once he has it reset, he's got his own diagnostic scan tool, and he's been resetting it himself, but it makes it maybe 500 yards up the road, and then the engine malfunction light comes back on up there. So we'll take it for a test drive now that we've done this, and we'll read some more live data. And look at that, now we've got the engine running, holding a steady rev. We've got an almost steady reading there on the sensor. So that's a big difference. We weren't getting that before. It was just it would raise up to 7 or above and then drop immediately to 0 once we hold the revs steady. But here we're getting a steady reading now. And it is raising and dropping with the revs. Just taking it for a drive. We're back from a short drive, all seems okay. And again with our live data there, you can see the values are there. And if we accelerate up, so the sensor that's fitted on the car is actually the old sensor. Here's a new one, and we're going to swap this around and read the live data readings from this one and compare them with the old sensor. So here we have the before live data here, so we haven't changed the sensor yet. We've got 0 and 0.46. Now we're going to start the engine. So it's back to doing what it was again. So we've got 0 on there, and it's even going to -1 if we hold the car on 2000 revs. It's moving up, but not much. So we're going to get the sensor swapped around and then redo these live data. Here we've got the old sensor, and over here we've got the new one. So just need to make sure the pins are the same 3 pins. While you're checking that, go inside the plug. Just make sure that you've got all 3 pins and that none of them are bent or damaged. And we have probe tested these. Once that's okay, we can fit the new sensor on. Now we're going to clear the codes, reset the particulate filter sensor, pressure sensor, reset the values. Now we've done that, we can go into the live data, rescan for any faults. Now this customer has got his own diagnostic equipment, so he has been clearing faults That's probably why we're seeing some pop back up here. There's a lot of different faults there now too, so this could be pointing to an ECU problem or even a bad battery. If you're getting, numerous faults, I've seen cars come up with 30 to 40 odd faults in each module, and you replace the battery, even though it's starting the car, doesn't mean it's a good battery. Change the battery, and I've seen it loads of times to get rid of all of these faults by just changing the battery. So that might be a case here as well, but we're going to go through it and we'll figure that out at the end. I'm just going to go through the faults, and you can see here again, this is in the ABS module. Lost communication with the power control module and invalid data received from that. So that's the ABS module done. Now we'll go into the instrument cluster. And we've got a network canvas error there as well. I'm going to read the next module, lost communication again. So all of these faults are relating to that. So we'll go back. And we've got the same fault here through all of these different modules. That's the only problem with when people clear their codes before we arrive. If they've got their own diagnostic system and they clear the codes, it can give us, false readings because we're not getting all of the faults that were there. Now it takes some time for them to come back. Now we've got all of these faults, so it's possibly a problem with the ECU on this, but it'd be worthwhile checking the state of the battery and replacing that first. It's always good to have a decent battery before you do any electrical diagnostics, really. So the new sensor is fitted and adaptations have been done, so now we're going to read the live data on this. So engine off, we've got the same sort of readings here. Start it up. Everything looks about the same. So it's going back to exactly the same sort of readings there as last. So the test we done in the beginning, testing the sensor on our vacuum system there, the Mighty Vac, that was correct. This sensor is giving exactly the same reading, so looks like it's going to have an ECU issue on this. It might need to be sent away to a place called ECU testing and see what I can come up with. So we've got no faults there on the PCM at the minute, but we're going to take it for a test drive and see what we come up with. If we get the fault back, then we know it's a definite. If not, this might need to be passed to an auto electrical specialist, or we can take the ECU out for him and post it away to ECU testing. And already there we've got the engine malfunction come back. So if we do a rescan, we should see the fault again. Let's go back in and find out. There we go, same faults again. What we'll do is just test the battery before we leave. It looks like it's going to be an ECU issue. Just going to test the battery. Sorry there, we'll let that focus. You can see there the battery's only got 182 amps of what should have 700. So there's definitely a problem with that battery. this is not a stop-start battery, but I'd need to check the car to make sure that it shouldn't be if it should be fitted with a stop-start or not. I was assuming this was a stop-start, but maybe it's not. We'll have to have a look at that. If you look around this area here, where the vent is on the battery, you can see it's been leaking. It did have this cover on there, so it's hiding that. So we'll ask the customer if he wants to replace his battery and restart from scratch. So I've just swapped the battery around. Customers had another battery in there, and we've just tested this and it's all working okay. So we just put that in the car and we're going to see if we've noticed any difference. So unfortunately the malfunction has come back. Battery's changed, so it's going to be a job of sending it to an ECU testing company. So that's all we have time for on this car today. See you in the next video.